Champions Cup Sunday games. There was a fair bit of entertainment on display with these games. I got up at 20 past 5 here in the morning and started a delayed broadcast of this one, Northampton against Benetton. And I started this one, so the game was ahead of me by a bit. It was still live when I watched it, but I started from the beginning. So I watched all those games the way through. Kind of similar storylines in those games. And then I've watched Leinster, Lyon upon getting home from work. Only the highlights. I knew the score, so yeah, there were no surprises in store for that one. And I've seen the highlights and looked at the stats and whatnot, and it was pretty convincing. So yeah, I'll go over these games and you guys can let me know your thoughts as always. The first one. It was Leinster up against Lyon. 42 points to 14. It's pretty convincing, and to be fair, I feel like this one could have been more because 44 seconds in, Leinster get a try chalked off for, I think it was McGrath being in front of the kicker. It was like a little kick through on a counter-attacking play. It was magic stuff, but not to be done. Lyon did lose one of their locks fairly early on to injury, which was unfortunate. Like, it's already hard enough to go over to Dublin and play there. 3 minutes and 55 seconds, James Lowe knocks on in the build-up to another potential try. So essentially there's a possible 14 points already not taken, 14 points potential, which were not taken by Leinster at that point. They do get the first one through Dave Carney on 10 minutes. They get a penalty and they, I guess, tell the ref that they're going to kick, but not for posts. They're going to kick. And sure enough they do, but instead of kicking for touch and setting for a maul, they cross kick, and I think it goes to Lowe, but Dave Carney ends up with the ball. And sure enough, it's a very quick bit of thinking from Ross Byrne. And Leinster reap the reward. So 7 points to 0 early. And then Josh van der Fleer gets one not long after. That one was from a McGrath offload, and he still had a bit of work to do. He powered through, but he made it look pretty easy. He's a workhorse player, so it's good to see him get that kind of bit of glory try. 14-0. Lyon got one back through Bruni. It was an intercept. He showed a bit of gas for a loose forward. Lama almost caught him, but it was way too late. Made it 14 points to 7, and if you'd read the stats, you wouldn't have believed the position and territory that Lyon could possibly be within 7 points at that point, but they were. And then Fardy went over for another try, which got chalked off. He basically just jumped over a ruck, which they didn't have anybody there standing at the back of it, and he dotted the ball down, but they chalked that one off. I think that one was for a knock-on. There was a lot of TMO in this game, it seems, so that's already another one that was down. But again, a few minutes later, Dave Carney got the ball out wide. It was a magic little offload from Lowe, and they converted it to make it 21-7. So looking to be comfortable given all that kind of statistical pressure that they've been putting on. However, in a kind of strange twist of fate, Lyon get a yellow card for giving away too many penalties. It's their centre, outside centre, I think Dumotier. And you're thinking, yellow card, man, they're really going to get hammered even more so than they are. They're already down by 2 tries. They're really going to get done here. But no, it's Lyon who end up scoring through Rudd. And it was during the yellow card. Through the forwards, they managed to knock the ball down just 21 points to 14. Yellow card period ends as a bin is about to come down my driveway. It's a shared driveway, so it's one of my neighbours taking the bins to the back of the house, in case you're ever curious. One of the houses behind this house. Leinster essentially lose the yellow card 7-0, even though that period has them up a man. So that's a bizarre one. I guess the coaching staff won't be very happy with that one. 45 minutes, Van der Fleer gets another one chalked off for a forward pass. Even the Irish commentary team I was listening to kind of thought that one was pretty forward, so I guess that one was less of a chance. I guess just more of a bad pass. At 48 minutes, Lombe gets a yellow card for a deliberate knock-on, so it's not getting any better for Lyon, although apparently they do well with yellow cards. Deegan gets a try. kind of very direct, and he's from pretty close in anyway, so that makes it 28 points to 14. They do win that yellow card 7-0 to Leinster, which is about right. And then guess what Lyon get again on 63 minutes? It's another yellow card to Mignot, the winger. And immediately from there, Leinster set a maul, and Cronin from the back of it. That guy's got wheels for a hooker. We all know that. He just sees space and just goes for it. He breaks off the maul and just goes on his own, and sure enough, he gets a try. 35-14. And then the final try through Porter. He's about 1 metre out. Good drive, and that makes it 42-14. So they, over the 3 yellow cards, Leinster scored 3 tries and they conceded 1. They still wouldn't be that happy with that, I guess, but 14-0 in that last one does make it look pretty good. So you can see why Lyon were getting pretty tired, because if you look at the stats in that game, they had to make something like 200 tackles, was it? Lombe made 24 out of 24, coming on as a substitute early and having 10 minutes to burn makes 24 out of 24 is a good effort. But they tackled at 83% at Lyon, which is not bad. 217 tackles. 217. That's a lot. Leinster made 100. So, run meters 491 to Leinster, 242 to Lyon. It kind of makes sense. Possession 68%, territory 70%. That's Leinster's way, of course. Penalties conceded, Lyon 13, 8 to Leinster. Ringrose 71 run meters, 8 defenders beaten. Good effort from him as well. Leinster were already through before this one, but they are sitting pretty at the top of everybody at the moment. Perfect. I don't know if it's a perfect record, but it's unbeaten anyway, and no draws or losses. I don't think they've got a bonus point win in every game, but it's near enough. They're top of the log, so they're only looking down upon everybody else. Basically, everyone else is trailing. I think they're 2 points ahead of Racing. So 1 more week to go. They've got Benetton away, so they in all likelihood will pick up a win there, and they will go through knowing that they're going to be at home. And then Lyon have a home game against Northampton, which for Lyon is not going to mean a lot, but they do get a chance to play spoiler for Northampton. So it's always fun to knock another team out if you're going to go out yourself. You drag them down with you. The next one was Northampton against Benetton. I watched this one. I had this one going on the TV, this one going on the laptop, so this one high volume, this one low volume. So this one probably didn't get as much of attention as it deserved because it seemed like a cracking game. At my count, the lead changed 6 times, despite the fact that that looks fairly kind of comfortable in the end. 6 times. And it was unfortunate for Benetton because Duvenaka went off early. I rate him as a player, so it's a pity to lose that guy. And the first try through Harry Melander was pretty good stuff. From the back of a scrum, Naira Voro's the guy who throws in the last pass. There's just too many men there, and it's 5-0 because they missed the conversion. Although Benetton win a penalty not that long later from a scrum, and they make it 5-3. So it's still pretty tight. There was a no try for... Was it Ribbons? Ribbons went off. Oh, geez, that guy. He looked injured for a long time. And you could see he was on the ground getting physio treatment on his leg, and he didn't look right. And then he stood up, and you could tell. I could tell. I'm a layman, and I looked at him going, that he's done. His night is done, or his afternoon is done. He needs to get off the field. And he hobbled around for a good 2 or 3 more minutes, potentially doing more damage. And, eventually he was subbed. But that was kind of poor management, I thought. 27 minutes, I thought there was going to be a Northampton try, but there was a forward pass in the build-up. At that point, Trussardi got yellow carded because Benetton had been giving away too many penalties. But if Leinster didn't do that well at managing that first yellow card in that Lyon game, I think Northampton probably topped them in poor management of the yellow card for this one, because after the Benetton yellow card, Northampton conceded a penalty, and then I think that was from a maul. They conceded a penalty at the maul, and then in their next attacking phase, they knocked it on, and then they had another attack down the left wing, and Nairavora was up there, and then they passed it to him, and he dropped it cold, and you could tell from his gesturing and the angle of the light that he had the sun in his eyes. He just couldn't see the ball. So they were kind of making a bit of hard watching during that time, and sure enough, just to make it worse, Benvenuti got his try during that yellow card. It's an intercept. He didn't look like he was going to have enough gas, but he did. He got there easy enough in the end. And I was writing really poor from Northampton on my notes because that was kind of about as bad as it gets. So they kicked the conversion. That made it 10 points to 5. So they go in front, Benetton, despite being a man down. And yeah, you wonder, man, come on, Northampton. You guys are the guys who need the points here. Benetton are already out. You're at home. You kick on. Sure enough, second half, they get a try through Taylor. They thought maybe there was a knock-on first, but the ball was ruled to have kind of gone straight down from what I could gather. It was given, so that put them back in front. Northampton 12-10. Maybe things will get back on track. Not quite, because Fiver gets his try, and that guy's been in a few tries in Champions Cup this year. It's from a line-out maul. They really just broke through them, and that made it 17 points to 12. So back in front, lead changes once again. Then at one point, I think Benetton had a penalty right out in front, but they reversed it for some reason after taking an age to look at it, which was kind of hard to watch when I had the other game going at the same time. But either way, it got reversed. Benetton missed the penalty later on. And then on 59 minutes, Van Wyk got a try, which I was pretty pleased he got, because I think he got penalised at a scrum only a few minutes earlier, and you could see him having a word with the ref. He was, like, no prop is ever happy when he gets penalised at the scrum, but he was particularly annoyed by that penalty. Then he goes and gets a try, which he's pretty happy about, and he did a little dummy and a run for that try. That wasn't just a 1 meter try. That was a thing of beauty for a prop. 19 points to 17. They go back in front. Benetton kick a penalty to take the lead again. 20 points to 19. But then it's kind of the final 10 minutes that Northampton really show their class. They get tries through Dingwall and Simmons at the end. It was just kind of pressure. Just paying off. Simmons ones he just powered over. So 33-20. At the end of the day, it looks like a pretty good result, but they were made to work for it. And it's a thing with Benetton this year in the Champions Cup. They've been pretty well beaten, but they've looked good at times. So certainly an entertaining game. Like I said, the fact that the lead changed so many times and it was the final 10 minutes that was the difference maker, made it for a very entertaining watch. I didn't know the result, which also made it really kind of tense. But yeah, a very fun watch. Nairavoro at the end, I mean, despite getting the sun in his eyes, 138 run meters, 14 defenders beaten, 6 offloads. The guy was on fire. I think he got man of the match. Lazzaroni for Benetton had 16 out of 19 tackles, which is pretty good. But Benetton overall tackled at 75%, which is not ideal. 175 tackles. Northampton were at 87, only had to make 97, so they'll still be a bit disappointed that despite having 61% possession, 67% territory, that they conceded 20 points to this Benetton team when they were at home. Run meters, though, 513 to 197. So, yeah. Northampton, as I mentioned, go away to Lyon for their survival. And Benetton host Leinster. Hopefully they get a good crowd for that one and they can put on a bit of a show. But there's nothing really to play for them. They can't even spoil the result for Leinster unless you count somebody else potentially taking that top spot overall, not just of the pool, because they can't be beaten for top spot in the pool out. But realistically, the form Leinster's been in this year, you can't see that happening. Northampton, I believe, are just outside the knockout stages. I think it's based on the points difference. Them and Gloucester are on the same points. So Northampton are still very much alive. but they need to go and get a good win away in France next week. We'll see if it can be done. But either way, it was a fun game. Right team won at the end, but they made hard work of it at times. But I guess part of that is credit to Benetton. The last one. Racing against Munster. Munster needed a win here to keep this one alive. And kind of like the previous game, it's a game that was really decided in the last 10 minutes because the lead changed 6 times in that one, and I think it changed 5 times in this game. It looked like for a while that Munster were going to get a win. Then it looked like maybe they'll potentially sneak a draw or at least get a losing bonus point, but in the end, 39-22 looks pretty bad, and it looks worse than I think than you would give Munster credit for anyway. They started early with 3 penalties, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, and 17 minutes to make it 9-0. And I thought Racing's hands were pretty poor early. Like at one point, they took a quick line out. Imhoff just kind of dropped it cold, so it wasn't slick from Racing. And I think one of the penalties was a scrum penalty, so it was looking pretty good. For Munster, the penalty count was definitely in their favour early. Although Iribarren, who always kind of looks a bit sad, he got his first penalty on 19 minutes to bring it back within 6. And then 28 minutes, Toma got a try. His first one on 29 minutes from a 5-metre scrum. And it was a kick through that Haley had to clean up before, in the lead up to that scrum being awarded. So it was maybe a knock on in the build up, but they decided it wasn't. And it was the crazy Iribarren pass that was kind of, I don't know, the talking point of that try. It was a hard one to describe. He kind of flicked it out the back of his hand and it went for miles. So yeah, as much as the try was pretty well taken, it was probably the pass that set it up. They did miss the conversion, so Munster was still in front 8 points to 9. But then Iribarren put them in front with a penalty not that long after to make it 11 points to 9. Hanrahan missed the penalty. It went close on 34 minutes, so they were still behind. But then a key moment of the game, Conway, who, as I said, I think in the preview, has been kind of one of my favourite, probably my favourite Irish winger of the last 12 months. He's got some wheels. I always knew he was quick, but he was proper quick. He gets an intercept, and this one is probably you can either call it a 10 or a 14 pointer, because I think Racing, if he doesn't get that intercept, are probably going to score down the other end. He gets an intercept, and he just puts the hammer down, and he scores a really well taken try. Too much gas for the defence. That makes it 16 points to 11. And then Munster have got the ball right before half time in their own 22, and they get the timing of kicking it out, I think, down to the second. So they kick it out pretty much right on 40 minutes. So Wayne Barnes says, right, that's it, half time. A second earlier, I think it's a Racing 92 throw in and they play on, but perfect stuff. So it was looking like a pretty well managed away game for Munster, in a game that they need to get a result. Second half, Racing get a penalty to make it 14-16. Munster get one back, 14-19. And then at one point, Munster try to get a bit enterprising. They try to run the ball out of their own 22. Eventually, Racing intercept it, and then it all leads to eventually a penalty to Racing to make it 17-19. Russell at one point, Finn Russell steps CJ Stunder, and he goes on a little attacking break, but they end up winning a penalty from it. They didn't score a try. 20-19. So at that point, they go in front through Racing. 59 minutes. Farrell gets held up. And that stage of attack, which Munster were on, was looking pretty deadly. And there's a couple of moments when you thought, they're one pass away or one tackle bust away from scoring a try. but he gets held up, and they end up kicking a penalty to go back in the lead, 22 points to 20. But damn, and they mentioned it in the commentary. I think it was Alan Quinlan. They really, really, really needed 7 at that point. They didn't get it, and the penalty was right in front, so you'd be mad not to take it. But with the amount of pressure they'd been putting on, they did need 7. Didn't get it done. And then the final 10 minutes, it really goes away from Munster. Racing step it up. And it's triggered by Teddy Toma. Honestly, this try, you have to see it because it's one of the greatest tries you'll see. And it was just one moment. It wasn't like a big lead up with all kinds of defenders beating them. It's just a Russell kick over, and 99 times out of 100, if not more, that ball just goes dead. You can't control it. If you get a hand to it, you just end up knocking it into touch. It seems like it's gone, and somehow he claws it back in and manages to get it just down inside the field of play. They look at it for bloody ages, the TMO. Checking if the kick was in front, checking if the grounding was fine. They look at it for an unbelievable time. Long enough that one of my kids came in the morning, managed to knock the cable that was plugged into the TV. And that was just after the try had been scored, and I managed to get it all plugged back in. And they were still looking at it when I came back. For ages. They still looked at it for a long time. So it was a long time they were looking at it, but it was a bloody good try. Very, very good. And then after that, Vakatawa gets one, and he was man of the match in that game. He shaped the pass, and he just went over 32 points to 22. And then Imhoff gets one right at the death. It's just a whole bunch of pressure, and they make it 39-22. So they blow out the scoreline at the end. And Racing probably deserved to win it. But I don't know by that much. Like, Racing are a good team. They're attacking. They're fun to watch. But, man, Munster gave them 70 minutes of pretty big trouble. And, yeah, man, they were just 10 more minutes away from making that pool very interesting. But Racing are through now, so we'll see what happens. Saracens are still in the second spots of those teams who could potentially go through as the second place qualifier. Munster, whilst technically not out, are in a big spot of bother because even if they get a win next week against Ospreys, who they are playing at home, they will still need, I think, several other results to go their way. So it's in all likelihood the end of the road for them. That draw at home against Racing has proved pretty costly. Not being able to hold on for those last 10 minutes. I won't take anything away from them because they did a pretty damn good job. Like, Saracens got a right hiding when they played Racing, even if it wasn't a full strength team over in Paris. So yeah, it was a very entertaining game though. Both those games really fun to watch. If you're going to get up at 5 something in the morning, you want some entertainment, those games were just what you wanted to see. I was going to say what Doctor ordered, but that ended up being a bit funny last time. So yeah, I mean, stats of this game: run meters 514 to 369, possession was 50-50, territory 54-46 in Racing's favour. Tackling for Racing ended up at 90%. They made 129. Munster, I think it blew out a bit at the end, 77% with 147 tackles. I think that would have been the last 10 minutes. Penalties conceded was 9-8. So pretty even. Vakatawa had 103 run meters, 12 defenders beaten, 3 clean breaks, 3 offloads. Holland for Munster had 18 out of 19 tackles, which is a good effort. But yeah, so Racing have to go away to play Saracens, so Munster would need them to do them a favour. And I think other teams who are in those spots like Gloucester and some others, I think probably have to drop points. So Munster could sneak ahead, but like I said, it is a pretty unlikely prospect at this point. But yeah, far from a disgraceful loss. It was a very entertaining one, and they seem to have good support there as well. Lots of away fans, which always seems to be a thing with Munster, which is very good to see. But yeah, those were the games. Damn, 24 minutes. I better go. You guys let me know your thoughts on the games. I thought they were pretty entertaining. Lots of tries on offer, lots of lead changes for these ones. Yeah, some kind of moments of magic in that first one. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts. Talk to you again soon. See you later.